excited because you just came up with our podcast
I
name.
did.
What is it called?
It's called To Be Obedient. Wow, that was...
It's called To Be Obedient.
Called To Be Obedient, yeah.
Called To Be Obedient. So good. My name is Tennille. I'm his wife.
I'm Matt. I'm her husband.
And today I just felt it on my heart to share about a recent situation that really was a very eye-opening reflection that we got to experience together. And I'm so thankful. And part of being Christian and what we feel called and led to do is, as God is imparting wisdom and knowledge onto us, if we can then try our best to impart and share with others, and just having our hearts be in this space that, like, we're just listening to what God has for us. So I think the main point is how to respond with love and peace and showing God when we encounter a situation of unexpected escalation, like anger, and just what feels like an attack.
Yeah, that was a lot. I think, throughout life, you have conversations with so many different kinds of people. And maybe the way you think a conversation's going is going to go one way. And then just in a split second, things change. And you find yourself feeling a little bit on, like, the hostile side. And I think it's really important that as we progress through our lifetime, we try to mitigate from acting on emotions towards how we personally feel if we feel like we are in the right and the person we're talking to is in the wrong, and go more geared towards, are we showing love to that person even if we necessarily aren't on the same wavelength, and to give pieces of God to that person even if they aren't necessarily a follower, or even if they are a follower, like, how can we continue to plant those seeds of God's love towards people that we come into contact with when things don't go the right direction. So.
Absolutely. And kind of just reflecting on the situation, I think what gave me the most pain was feeling like my intentions were misunderstood and taking it personally, seeing it as a personal attack on myself, and feeling this need to defend myself. And not only to defend myself, but when I'm accused of being not loving or not caring, I feel like that is an additional attack on not only my character, but who I represent in God. So can you talk a little bit about how, when we're presented with uncomfortable situations, which we're going to be a lot in life, how can we kind of reground ourselves and stay kind of focused on what God's assignment for us is? And what do you think God's assignment is for us, especially when we're interacting with people that aren't Christian, where we can feel more pressure to reflect God in our life?
Well, to answer the second question, I think God calls all of us to love and to show love. You see the bracelets when your kid's growing up, WWJD, what would Jesus do? Right. Throughout the entire Bible, God expresses his love. He performs miracles. He's done so much for other people. And I think that our main purpose on this earth is to live for him, to love him, to honor him, and to spread the word of God in any way that we possibly can. And if you're somebody that's not super comfortable talking about it, that's perfectly fine. I think just showing love towards an individual is suffice enough, and you're planting seeds in that way to populate heaven and to cast out hell. And I think that's the number one purpose that we're meant for. But to answer the first question, if for me personally, when I get into a situation where I just notice things aren't necessarily right, and ways to kind of tell for me if things aren't going right is I can see it in their face, I can hear it in their tone of voice, and maybe just some of the responses just didn't really line of what I thought was going in that direction the way I thought it was going. Um, for me personally, like I have this superpower, I feel like, that I can just kind of detach myself from my body and I can kind of analyze a situation. For those that don't have the superpowers like I do, just simply take a deep breath and don't get wrapped up in the emotion. Try to slow down the situation of what you can. Even though it might feel like it's coming at you a million miles a minute, like slow it down. You are in control of the conversation, right? You get to control how you perform, how you treat that other person, and you can direct it either getting away or just simply changing the subject as a whole, right? So the first thing you need to do is just take a deep breath and just slow it down. Because if things don't go your way and you go right at it full speed, you're going to either say or do something that's going to be harmful, or you're going to say something you're going to regret later. And I think that that's like a huge step. It's just taking it slow and letting it just kind of flow the way that you want it to flow. You can't control the outcome of the conversation necessarily, like the way you want it to go, but you can definitely control the pace. And if you're all hostile and very fast with it, it's going to get out of hand too quickly. So
Yeah.
I think that's like really big. If you can just slow down the conversation and then slowly direct it away from that, you're going to find yourself in a better situation than you were before. It's better to put a stop to it early than kind of let it fester a little bit. And then now you got this huge weight of like this awkward conversation now weighing on your all's relationship. So,
Yeah, trying to go back and fix things
right.
because words hold value, they hold meaning. And I think one of the really important things that you talked about was pausing. Like, it is so important to pause. I was so thrown off by this situation with this individual because I went into the conversation just thinking, oh, this is a light conversation, a typical day, typical thing, and not realizing that it's like God tells us we need to always have our armor. And part of that armor, it doesn't mean that you need to go on full defense mode and just go in ready to plow people down and I'm right and this is why I'm right and let me give you all these different reasons. That's not what wins people over. And I think, kind of keeping in mind God's assignment, we're human, we're flawed, we're all going to make mistakes. But something that was really powerful after that whole situation was when you were talking about planting seeds. And the seeds that we plant out of love, a lot of the times we don't necessarily see the harvest. And that's not the point. The point is that we trust in God and that if we can do our best in our relationship with him, in our intimacy with God, of asking him, Lord, show me how I can be more loving, how can I show you to people, especially those in our life that we know are non-Christian, where you can feel more of that pressure of like, how can I help them? Is this going to be the moment that they turn to God and their lives are radically changed and they're no longer bound by these things? Take that pressure off and just trust in God and know that like this may be a really uncomfortable situation and I may be really thrown off, but I'm going to stop and I'm going to walk away from this. And it doesn't mean I've lost. It means this is all I can give in this situation, in this moment right now. And I'm going to give it to God and I'm going to pray and I'm going to ask. And I don't want to make it worse, So I thought that was really great about you don't know when the fruit of your seeds is going to show. It could be next week. It could be they turn around tomorrow and say, I am so sorry about that. Or, wow, you handled that really well. I know that I did not handle that well at all. And I escalated so rapidly on you. And I apologize for that. And maybe they think to themselves, how do they keep their cool? How did they stay calm? It's not me, it's Jesus,
Yeah.
So I really felt so moved when you're sharing that with me about It's about planting seeds, and you don't always see the harvest, but you trust God that He's going to be the water and grow those seeds.
One thing I read a quote in high school. The quote says, "You might not always remember what the person said to you. You might not even remember what the person did to you, but you will always remember how that person made you feel." And ever since I read that, it really just kind of hit me hard that it doesn't matter what I do or say, like that might not be remembered necessarily, but they're going to remember like, wow, that person made me feel this way or that way. And I think that it's extremely important that we truly leave that lasting impression on someone in a good way of positive, because they might not remember what you did or said, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. And if we can just do our best to come into contact with each person every day and to leave a positive, you know, impact on them, then you're going to be spreading that love of what God wanted us to do. So
Right. And what's the bigger picture? The bigger picture isn't our pride. The bigger picture isn't, oh, my feelings were hurt. It's God's plan. And we're talking about kingdom building, eternal. Like we get to be a part of God's great story. So when we're in circumstances, we're in situations that test us and try us and throw off our OODA loop. Marine wife here. Like, just, it's okay to pause and reground ourselves and just be like, oh, I'm thrown off by this. I identify and I see that, like, there is a shift. And I recognized in that conversation, like, what? And you were there. You saw. You could see on my face, like, I was so thrown off. And it's not failing. It's not you losing. It's not you being weak. By just, you don't respond. Just take a moment, take a deep breath, and try to redirect, as you're saying. And if there's still too much pain in that situation being displayed from that other person and they're not able to hear what you're saying, then yes, walk away. And walk away with your head held high. Don't feel like you're losing. Don't feel like somehow you've not done your part. Like, by being humble and recognizing, God, I can't win this situation. I need you to lead this. I need you to guide me. We should do that in everything anyways. But I think that was really big for me, because I felt like I can't walk away from this right now because the things that this person is saying are untrue, and they're saying things that are untrue about me. So I need to stay here and I need to battle in this to get to the truth. And you don't battle for truth like in this context. Like, of course, battle for the truth of the Lord, but let God lead you and be like, hey, pause, let's just. So that was really big for me.
yeah, I think understanding that we're not here to please other people. Like, yeah, you want to please other people and you want to you want to be right and you want to come across as this like, all-knowing, super strong, smart person, but in reality, like in the situation that we encountered, right? If you would have won the conversation, we say, did we really win long term?
Right.
Did we really leave a lasting impression on that individual? Probably not. And looking, God looking down on us, like how would he assess that situation? Like, hey, congratulations, you were right, but you missed the bigger message here.
Right.
You missed what you were called to do. Now you got to go back and you got to have a conversation with that person, trying to build up some community again, where in the first place we could have just simply cut our losses, show love towards that person, and move on. That conversation's not going to make any sort of like groundbreaking establishment, change in the world. It's not. Like actions are going to speak louder than words. And us having a conversation of things isn't going to get anything done, and it's not really proven much of anything. Like the actions, how we treat other people, and the actions of what we do on this earth are what's going to move and create a greater kingdom in heaven and hopefully here on earth that we walk every day. So,
Right. So, next time that you encounter testing a difficult situation, just pause before you react. Remember and keep in mind God's plan over our lives, but also have grace if you do react because we're humans.
yeah.
I went back and was able to take accountability for kind of trying to stay in that situation and defend and battle for something that really didn't matter versus recognizing this person is hurting, this person is in pain, they're lashing out on me, and how can I show God's love in this situation? Not about me winning, not about my pride, but how can I show God's love in this situation?
I think just showing love towards other people is just a good thing to do in this, on this planet in general. There's a lot of hate.
Especially today.
There's a lot of hate in the world across, in all regions, all socioeconomic areas. I think just genuinely caring about someone and genuinely showing love towards that person can make drastic changes to this world and, just to who you interact with on a daily basis.
Amen.
It's not always about being right. It's about building a bigger army against the enemy.
Exactly.
And sometimes the little battles that maybe you interact with these people aren't the real battles. It's a test. And I think if we can overcome those tests, you're going to create a much bigger army, a much bigger Marine Force. That's what I am, You're going to take down Satan and all that he's got going on with him as well. So, yeah.
Awesome.
All right. I think that wraps up episode numero uno. More to come. Yeah. We did it.
We did it.